Do I have your attention? 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 Do I have your attention?
Is you taking notes?
Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your boy SimplyFoodByTy, and today I'm going to be showing you all how I make my bacon onion jam. Yes, honey, you heard me right. I said bacon onion jam. So I'm going to be using two 16-ounce packages of thick cut bacon. Now, just so you know, you do not have to use Smithfield. That isn't even typically the brand that I use. I just use what was on sale, but you definitely want to make sure that it is a thick cut bacon. You want to get as much of that bacon fat rendered as possible, and when you're using the thin stuff, it just ain't gonna work. It's gonna burn, and then it's just gonna create one giant mess. Trust me, I know. Now, what we're doing right now is I'm prepping my 3 large sweet onions. Now, the good thing about this is, you guys, and I'm not even speeding this up, so as we're talking, that's about how quickly you'll be able to prep the onions. You don't have to chop these down in any particular way, you guys. So as long as you have an immersion blender or a food processor, this step right now you can do just as I'm doing, which is just giving it a rough chop. Now, unfortunately, if you don't have an immersion blender or food processor, then you want to make sure that you're mincing this down, because it is going to cook for quite some time. But the smaller the pieces are, the easier it'll be for you at the end if you don't have one of those 3 kitchen gadgets that I've just said, a few moments ago. So once our onions are all broken down, we can sit those to the side and let's start working on our bacon. Now, I'm going to do the exact same thing with the bacon because, like I said, I'm going to be using an immersion blender, which is going to get it to the texture that I want it to be anyway. So I'm not really going to be that fussed about chopping this up. Now, I will say, as a little pro tip, just to make it easier on yourself, which is what I should have done my damn self, was pop your bacon in the freezer for maybe about 10 minutes, just until it slightly starts to get nice and firm, and then it'll just make it easier for you when you go to start slicing it up, because as you can see, the more heat is held in that wood cutting board and on my hand, the bacon fat just becomes a sloppy mess, and then it just, honey, you get what I'm saying. Also, make sure that your knives are nice and sharp. There's nothing more dangerous than chopping with a dull knife. Trust me, you. So once you get all of your bacon prepped, let's move over to the pan. Now, I'm going to be using my Dutch oven pan, and I will definitely say, you guys, you want to make sure that you're using a pan that you know does not ever give you trouble. Meaning, either it's a non-stick pan, a porcelain pan like I'm using, something that you know will not give you trouble, because the total cook time for this will be about 2 hours. So you don't want to have to be worrying about your bacon and the sauce and all of that burning and sticking, because that would just not be the business. Another thing that you want to do here is make sure that you're not overcrowding the pan. You want to do it in batches. I did mine in 2 batches, just so that you don't have to worry about the bacon steaming and then you'll have too much water in the pan. So once you've got that bacon nice and crispy, as you can see, you're going to go on ahead and remove that and just sit that to the side, and just repeat the same process for all of the bacon. You just want to make sure that it's nice and crispy, has some nice coloring to it, and then you are good to go. So once you've got that all done, you can go on ahead and add in all of your onions. And as you can see at the bottom, there's a lot of beautiful brown bits down there. Trust me, that is not burnt. That is bacon grease, and that's all of the residual fat from the bacon. I'm telling you, that is good stuff. And the best thing about these onions hold so much water in them that as that water is released from the onions, it's going to lift up all of that stuff from the bottom, and that's going to become a lot of good flavor. So don't go try to wash it and rinse it out, because that's not going to do you any good. You know what I mean? So now that our onions are starting to cook down, we're going to go ahead and start adding in black pepper. Do not add salt. There's enough bacon and stuff in this. Don't add salt. Trust me. We're also going to be adding in 2 tablespoons of my Korean chili paste. Now, if you can't find the one that I typically always use, you can use gochujang. That's pretty much the exact same thing. But as you can see, you can notice down in the pan as I'm mixing this up, the bottom of our pan is nice and clean again. There's no black bits down there. all of the water came out of those onions and lifted all of that up, and now you have a nice smooth surface all over again. And now we're mixing in that Korean chili paste, which is going to give it just a slight bit of kick to it, but not much. Like I said, 2 tablespoons for the amount that we're making is not a lot at all. And if you've never used it before, give it a try. It really is amazing. Now we're going to go on ahead and we're going to add in our onions. And like I said, this is the reason why if you have an immersion blender or something like that, it doesn't really matter how you chop it up, because the blender is going to take care of all of that work for you, essentially. Now, what we're about to do now is we're about to add in our liquid. Now, if you cannot have alcohol of any kind, don't add it. You can add in chicken broth. I'm going to be using Guinness Extra Stout. You want a nice dark beer, and you're going to add in 1.5 cups. Now, as you can see, at this stage, I want you guys to pay close attention to the texture of this as it changes throughout the next couple of segments here. As you can see right now, it's kind of the texture of like a French onion soup. It's still solid, and it's very it's still chunky. So what we're doing right now is we're getting ready to take that away by using our immersion blender and just pulsing. You don't want to break it down until it's completely liquefied. You want it to almost kind of to take on the texture of like a grainy applesauce, because the longer it cooks, the more water is going to come out and it's going to thicken up nicely. But as you can see here, it's kind of almost like an applesauce texture. It's not completely watery. It still has some texture to it. And hey, look, if you still have big chunks of onion and some big pieces of bacon in it, that is completely fine. Like I said, you're going to be cooking this for almost 1.5 hours to 2 hours. All of that stuff's going to break down anyway. But as you can see right now, it's still pretty on the watery side. Now, this next segment, I want you guys to look at the inside of the pot, and you'll start to see how it's already starting to evaporate. You can see on the inside rim of the pan how it's starting to drop. The water is evaporating out, and how it's starting to slowly thicken up, and it's changing color. It's starting to get darker. Now we're about to be at the final stage. This is at the 2-hour mark. It is so thick and so rich. I'm telling y'all, this stuff cooked for about 2 hours on about a low temperature. You want to keep sure you're mixing it around so that it doesn't burn. When I tell y'all, this stuff is bomb on cheeseburgers, hot dogs, pizzas, omelets. Put it in a mason jar, save it. You can use it year round. I'm telling you, it is bomb. You are going to love it. Look, if you are new to my channel, welcome to Simply Food by TY. Let me know down in the comment section what you want me to see next. If you're one of my returning subscribers, y'all babies know I love y'all so much. And as always, y'all stay cute and take care. Bye, guys.
Simply Food by TY.